So in the European reference network GENTURIS, which is one of 24 European networks that deal with a group of rare diseases, the ERN GENTURIS deals with genetic tumor risk syndromes and has a focus on NF besides 3 other groups of genetic tumor risk syndromes. One of the main tasks of this network is to develop clinical guidelines. As you know, there are many rare diseases, more than 6,000 different rare diseases. So no doctor can be an expert in every rare disease and all the common diseases as well. So it's not only a rare disease, NF, also it's rare to find NF specialists. So in order to educate healthcare professionals to look after NF patients appropriately, we need guidelines. And in the ERN GENTURIS, we started to develop NF1 tumor management guidelines. And first we discussed what should be the scope. So the scope should be all individuals with NF1, not only pediatric patients or only adult patients, all NF1 patients. The clinical questions that we were asking were, for example, what clinical screening is beneficial for detecting tumors? How often should you do them? What should you do? When should you do it? What type of imaging is needed? When a tumor is diagnosed, is the indication for surveillance different in NF1 than for sporadic tumors of the same type? When a tumor is diagnosed, is the indication for treatment in NF1 different for those patients who have sporadic tumors? Is the treatment different in NF1? What NF1 specific treatments do exist? So there were a lot of different clinical questions. And I think what we can really be proud of that we were involved as patient representatives, and we really highlighted the need of also psychosocial support. This was not initially in the scope when the first discussions happened, but we made it very clear that people who are suffering from NF1, who develop different tumors, need proper psychosocial support. So we also made sure that psychologists were involved in this work. In NF1, there's so many different tumors, mostly benign tumors, but unfortunately also sometimes malignant tumors. So it's so very important that patients with NF1 are receiving the best care possible, that they are being monitored properly, that those tumors are detected as soon as possible, because then you have a better chance to treat them. And these are all the tumors that are part of the clinical guidelines for NF1 tumor management. The process looked like this, that there was a co-writing group existing of 12 members, clinicians, researchers, but also a patient representative from 7 different member states. There was then also a guideline group, an extended group of additional 21 members from 9 different member states. And then we also assembled a patient advisory group through NF Patients United, where members of our group participated. We had 7 members from 7 different countries. So these groups developed the draft of the guidelines, which were then presented to a large group of experts, more than 120 NF experts from all different countries all around the world, who then reviewed this draft and commented on it. So we made 3 rounds of Delphi to optimize the guidelines before we finished the work. And of course, for all these different tumors, you need highly specialized people. So you need, for example, radiologists, you need oncologists, neurologists, plastic surgeons, neurosurgeons, psychologists, as I said before, but also patient representative. And they were all part of this work. So this work started in spring 2020 with the first discussions. What are we going to look at? What will be the scope, as I said before? Then we assembled the team, identified the topic, identified the tools and resources that are needed. Then came a very long phase where we looked at the available literature. So we did an extensive literature research to see what evidence is out there, what is available. And in many rare diseases, including NF1, not everything is available in the literature. So sometimes you need to also rely on the expertise of NF experts who have been looking after NF patients for many, many years. So also their knowledge was of utmost importance to develop these guidelines. Then the first draft has been written, put together, been discussed. Then we started to build the consensus by conducting these different rounds of Delphi. A Delphi survey is an online survey where people can look at the draft and ask questions, give comments, so to improve the guidelines even further. And then in autumn, winter, we had the final meeting where we all agreed that this is the final version that we want to publish in the literature. Final editing was done, and in early 2023, the guidelines have been published. You can find the guidelines on the ERN GENTURIS website. So there's does it work with the pointer? I don't think so. But there's not only the complete guidelines that are meant for healthcare professionals, they're written in a very technical medical language, but also with NFPU, we worked on a plain language summary. So we try to translate this very complex document in an easy to understand language, and this is also available here on the website. We will share the slides afterwards, so you can then also press the link, but otherwise you can just go to www.genturis.eu. The future priority for GENTURIS in the field of NF is to, of course, endorse the guidelines for NF1 and also for schwannomatosis, which we're going to hear soon from my colleague Melpo. Developing a clinical pathway for NF2 and schwannomatosis is also something we have on our future agenda. And also to develop guidelines, clinical guidelines for NF2. And also, as I said before, in these guidelines, we focused just on the tumors. You saw there are so many tumors in NF1, but tumors are not the only challenge for NF1 patients. They often are also dealing with very challenging bone manifestations, neurocognitive issues, cardiovascular issues, epilepsy. As you know, NF1 is the disease with 1,000 faces. So we also need to develop guidelines for other manifestations of NF1, and this will be part of the next work.